Friends, tonight we're checking out everything new in downtown Disney. And it's starting to feel like Disney is making up their master plan one project at a time. And I'm filming this at night to escape the heat, but also to make sure we don't have a wall of people in every shot. So let's check out everything that's changed and what still doesn't fit. Brickey here, breaking down everything new in downtown Disney. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can go with me on weekly construction updates where I've divided the resort up into 5 different zones, and each week we tackle a new zone. This week, downtown Disney, let's go. Friends, we know the ticket booths won't be here forever, but we do know the first 2 to go is gonna be ticket booth 7 and 8. Both of these booths are scheduled to get removed when Portos finally shows up. But here's the question, is it ever going to actually show up? There are scheduled permits to remove booth 7 and 8, these 2 right here. The foundations are going to be removed and all of the utilities will be capped, which is pretty crazy when you look at how big the current La Brea Bakery, now Earl of Sandwich patio is. But allegedly, when Porto shows up, it's going to get close enough to these ticket booths that they need to be removed, which means this is going to be a serious construction project. Whatever comes here, I hope that downtown Disney doesn't lose all of this outdoor space. I always thought the food at La Brea was just okay, and I'm not a fan of Earl of Sandwich, but I will say this, I'm a huge fan of this big patio, and the fact that these have to go away because of something that's happening over here makes it very curious of how big this structure is going to be. So I keep saying allegedly because the construction over here has been paused again, and it was paused right at the edge of Earl of Sandwich, evacuating their current location in the old La Brea Bakery spot, which currently is themed to be more of a California craftsman look. Once it's demoed out, the new concept artwork shows something that skews a little bit more modern, as all of these projects, except for a couple of them, started out making everything looking modern, and now with Din Tai Fung and the barbecue place that's showing up, they've gotten a little bit off the track. So downtown Disney again will be a collage of different styles instead of one design aesthetic, which is where the plan started. This location was scheduled to close July 26. Employees were told on July 25th that that wasn't going to happen. One day before they were all scheduled to either lose their job or go to the much smaller location down in front of the old ESPN building. But if this does happen at all, it could be as far as Thanksgiving. I don't know. I'm giving this a coin's toss on whether it's going to happen or not. But I am intrigued that it's going to be so big that these booths 7 and 8, are going to go away. And that makes me wonder, what's the fate of the other ticket booths? Because I'm assuming ticket booths 1 and 2 that would be diagonal from here, they're going to be in the way of the Disneyland Forward expansion plans. So will the booths all just slowly disappear one at a time? And then they'll do classic Disney and keep one of them? Hey, you know that ice cream shop in Esplanade? That used to be one of the old ticket booths. So to be determined how all of this is going to shape out, and if it even happens at all. This was one of the first things that were announced 2 D23s ago, and still there has been no development at all. At this point, I don't know who feels more desperate. Disney for just holding on for Portos to show up, or Earl of Sandwich because they literally are the clingy girlfriend or clingy tenant, don't want to disrespect girlfriends, that will literally sell a sandwich in any little corner that Disney allows them to. Earl, you're looking a little desperate, my friend. Let's move over to our next location. So a very odd project behind me. It appears that Sunglass Hut is getting a complete makeover. When we look through the lights that are on, and I'm glad we're doing this at night because we can actually see in, with those work lights, you can see they have entirely gutted the Sunglass Hut here in downtown Disney. But then in either 2 projects that are related or horrible timing, there's also scrims right across the street over at Naples. So why would you create such a tight pinch point? Because don't forget, now that the old sidewalk has been removed, and I made a complete video about that you can check out, you have to go through there. Like, everybody has to pass through that tight pinch point to go from one end of downtown Disney to the other. So either these two projects are related to each other or somebody needs to be fired, because this literally makes no sense. And I always try to film things as empty as possible. That's why I came back at night, because it was slammed and way too hot on Thursday. It was almost impossible to get this pinch point late at night with nobody in it, or relatively few people in it. It's also odd because this is a flagship location for Sunclass Hut that's been here since 2011, and they must do such good business here. They also have a kiosk at the other end of downtown Disney, down by the Lego store. Nobody knew this one was happening. They have literally got the entire area bottlenecked down to maybe a 15-foot passage. I can only imagine what a nightmare that is during peak downtown Disney times. We'll keep an eye on this one and how maybe these two weird projects are related. Wild. Happy to announce wife favorite Sephora is back open after a short refurbishment. I looked in, can't really tell what's different. All I know is it's back open, and that's going to make some women in my life very happy, because it is a must stop when the rest of us are over at Salt and Straw. As predicted quite a while back, Tortilla Joe's has been completely removed. Most of you probably know that. But what maybe you haven't thought about is how this design will match in with the rest of downtown Disney, where this does skew a little bit modern, but does kind of have a little bit of roadside flair. So this is where I'm going to apologize to some of you, because I was defending Disney, and in my book, Disney has now officially gotten it wrong. So I may have been one of the only people that defended the design decision of redoing the Jazz Kitchen. I personally never liked the original aesthetic. I didn't like how it was so kitschy and it didn't match anything else, because I thought Disney was going with a mid-century modern aesthetic all through downtown Disney. And most pieces were stacking up that way. But now locations have shown up that don't match that aesthetic. And so therefore, I wonder, did Jazz Kitchen get taken out too soon and too early when they thought they had one plan? But it seems to me the plan has pivoted. So even though I didn't like the first Ralph Brennan Jazz Kitchen, maybe it could have just stayed or been a little bit more authentically New Orleans, because if they're not all going to match, then they can all be uniquely different. And I thought there was a plan here to tighten it up, because downtown Disney is aesthetically a mess. So, sorry, Jazz Kitchen fans, you were right. If everything else is going to be different, then the Jazz Kitchen could have stayed uniquely New Orleans and not have to fit into the new template. I just thought they were going one way, and clearly they're going in several ways. But after losing Steakhouse 55, I am excited to have a steakhouse back inside of downtown Disney. However, I doubt that it'll stack up to Steakhouse 55. That was my favorite restaurant. I thought eating there was better than eating at Club 33 on property. And yeah, this does have mid-century inspiration. It's not straight up Palm Springs. It's winking an eye to it. And same with Pearl's Roadside Barbecue. It's winking an eye to it as well, but it just makes me wonder, did the Jazz Kitchen had to perish? And even though I do like this version better, I don't know that the other one now necessarily had to go away. Or if it didn't go away, did it have to be this generic? I think had things been done in a different order, this could probably have a little bit more New Orleans flair than what it got. Just think, Jazz Kitchen, unfortunately, was the first to go before they had fully made up their mind. But man, oh man, am I glad Tortilla Joe's is gone. I thought that building was an eyesore. So looking forward to what's coming next, and feeling a little bit of remorse for what's already come and gone. And hey, I'll always defend good design, and I'll always give it to you straight when I find bad design. And I think this has slid into that definition just because of how everything else has come together. So over at the Lego store, there's a lot of construction happening out front. If you've ever been here when they've done some of the specialty events, this is typically where they do the builds and like have huge audiences. For May the 4th, there was so many people lined up to do a mural wall. So I will be super curious, are they building some sort of permanent outside installation area where they can do their different demos and build outs? Because they have been wildly popular, and I think a permanent home for that would probably be smart. But maybe it's also time to refresh some of the giant Lego sculptures outside the shop, because they have been here for a very, very long time. And I feel like something new in this area, new decorations, a new installation area would be very, very welcome. As Downtown Disney is trying to update itself, it'd be nice to see every shop get a little something new. So this is the area where Beauty and the Beast were at, as well as the giant column that stood behind them. And I don't think I see it over the wall anymore. So definitely need to take a ride on the monorail and see what's happening over here on the exterior of the Lego store. Still to this day, one of the busiest locations in all of Downtown Disney. And I do think Downtown Disney could use a lot more places like Lego where they're interactive, fun, imagination, and man, oh man, does this thing just look beat up. It looks like it's in rough shape. At the end of the month, a new shop opened up, Nectar Life. And let me tell you, their staff is the friendliest people I've met in Downtown Disney in a long time. If you're wondering where they're located, they're right past the Avengers store and D-Lander, conveniently in the very back corner. But even if their product line isn't for you, the way that it's crafted and constructed is amazing. You might not honestly even know what you're looking at. A very cool design spin on something that normally you could easily just, turn a blind eye at. But Nectar Life demands attention because of attention through design. Also in the very back corner, eventually this will be one of the many homes of Earl of Sandwich and Carnaby Tavern, as this back spot will become the UK pavilion of the Disneyland Resort. Now, there was a fan theory that this back area here would be a way for the bizarre everything over here becomes a theme park concept of Disneyland Forward. Some people believe that this will be its own park, not an extension of DCA and of Disneyland. And many fans in that theory had this area right here as sort of the main connection point. So either they would do it all through the very, very tight security spot, or somebody built this building in the wrong spot if they ever wanted to make this the most bizarre Disney theme park ever. The one that would be routed around a handful of hotels, parking lots. Like, it would just be a disaster. I never thought it was possible, but this definitely puts a major kink in that fan theory. And once again, just kind of showing the piecemeal design of Downtown Disney. If this location is to have a balcony or an outlook spot where you could look out on Downtown Disney, then looking over on top of this awning is a real shit view. Parkside has a cool outside deck and bar that faces the window where you can look over at kids playing and bands playing on the stage. But if this place has a patio, you're gonna look out on this rooftop that has no theming? I don't know, man. I started with such high expectations, but I feel like this project has really gone in so many different paths that now I just wonder, what was the point of the whole thing? I mean, don't get me wrong, this is an amazing restaurant, a fantastic establishment, but I just feel like it's all started to go in so many different directions that I just wonder, what's the point here? What are we doing? Case in point, with the lipstick that we're putting on the pig that's called the old ESPN zone. Hey, I appreciate that they're trying to bring it together and make it match everything, but I don't appreciate that these are scrims emulating the pattern that is actually tactile over on the stage. I mean, that's just cheap. So even though Disney is committed to put a couple $1 million into this location, I just have to wonder, is it seen as a stopgap for something big that will come along the way? as we look over here, we can see that there are these major columns that will divide it up into different store locations. The most exciting thing I've heard that's coming here is a Funko store. That would be akin to what's happening with Lego, and that would be nice. Now you can also see on these vertical columns, something's going to be mounted right there, and it will have a relationship with this basin here at the bottom. And you see that pattern repeated on each one of the columns. Not sure what that decorative piece is going to be, but it's obviously going to give some sort of signature unified look to this entire structure, as that same pattern will be repeated again 4 times on the other side of the building, but the other side has a huge window, and again a window that doesn't really have a lot of thought into its position. But I can tell you, this place is absolutely gutted on the inside, completely stripped down to the bones. So everything in there is going to be a brand new custom build. So even though it has to exist in the previous bones, it will feel like a new experience once it finally opens. And they've gone pretty far on this. This project just was announced at the beginning of the year. It was actually the subject of my first Hey Brickey video of 2025. So 8 months later, they've done a lot. But I'm just curious, will it be enough to tie everything together and to feel like this was all one thought, well planned out, well crafted, not just something that started in one direction and then kind of found its way to where it's at today. That's where it's feeling like it's going right now. That's fine out in the rest of the world where, you know, everybody does their own thing, but kind of the magic of Disney is you have the corporation curating the experience. That's why Main Street looks so perfect, because it's not real. It's a facsimile of reality where every little design detail was specifically chosen to tell a story. I thought they were going to do that with Downtown Disney, where this would sort of give you the optimism of mid-century California, and when people came here on vacation or visited locally, it would just remind everybody like what California contributed as far as architecture and optimism through construction. And now it just feels like any other mall, which is not what Downtown Disney should feel like. It should feel unique, it should feel themed, it should feel special. And hey, they're not done, so to be determined, but every new decision feels like it's kind of going off the tracks. That's where I'm at right now with it, but we'll see. Forever the optimist.